Hi, Doc. Why do you always tell me to eat more protein? I am losing weight, right? So, what is the need for me that I have to up my protein? Won't it increase my calories? And why are you always telling me to count my protein in my diet and make sure I'm getting enough? Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Indrani Raman. I am the founder of Excel Health MD. And that is the most common question I'm asked in my clinic. We have a practice which is based mainly about holistic weight loss, kidney disease management, and functional wellness. On Tuesdays, I will be bringing to you the topic of holistic weight loss. And last few weeks, we've been talking about carbs and fat. And this week, it is time to talk about protein. Protein is a dietary protein is really an essential component for many physiological processes in our body. Now, today's topic, I have a little bit more treat for you. I have created even a PowerPoint presentation with all the pizzas in there. So you guys will like it. And I will be talking probably around 10 to 15 minutes or so. We'll go over the protein, the types of healthy protein, and why do we need to eat protein? What happens if you don't take enough protein in your diet? And how does it help with weight loss? And what happens if you take excess protein in your diet? So we're going to go over all of those issues in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So if you're here, hang around, guys, and please like and share our page so that all of your friends also can get this education. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let's see. I hope it goes well. Let's take a look here. All right. So this is my screen here, and hopefully that's big enough. Okay, let's start the slideshow. Okay, so this is what you guys see. So protein is really an essential component. It's needed for to create enzymes, enzymatic reactions in the body. It's a part of your structural cell wall component. It's a building block of so many things and part of our cells. You need it as a building block for the muscle that we know about, but you also need it for bones, your brain, and also for DNA synthesis. And of course, we need enzymes and also that cause reactions for anything from digestion to our brain activity. It's also needed for neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and all of those things are done with the help of enzyme, with the help of proteins in our diet. Now, there are certain conditions when you have low protein in your diet. You can have diseases like conditions like marasmus and kwashiorkor. They're usually seen more in developing countries. When I was growing up in India, I have seen some cases of that. So this is where people are eating low calories and also are low in protein. The kids, especially, they can have like a pot belly kind of picture, and they have like very poor muscle tone. The RDA, required dietary allowance of protein, is 10 to 35% of calorie intake. And if you look at it as a grams per kilogram, it's 0.8 grams per kilogram of lean body weight is the required amount of protein, the minimum required amount of protein in the diet as per dietary regulation. But we definitely need a lot more than that, especially if you're going to lose weight. You need to be eating 1.2 to 1.5 milligrams per kilogram of lean body weight. That approximately comes to, guys, 90 to 120 milligrams per day. And of course, if you are having a higher body mass, you probably need to have a little bit more protein. And if you are an endurance athlete, and if you're doing more weight training, or if you have a history of malnutrition, or if you have like sarcopenia where you have lost already so much muscle, you probably may have to bump it up to almost 1.7 milligrams per kilogram, or even up to 2 milligrams per kilogram. But for anybody doing for weight loss, you need to eat between 90 to 120 milligrams per day. And to maintain the weight loss and to maintain your muscles, you probably have to do 0.7 to 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight. That is noted there. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. So next. Okay. These are some of the examples of protein. Now, proteins are two different types, right? Animal protein and plant-based protein. Animal protein, we all know the examples are eggs, in all the meats, chicken, turkey, pork, beef, salmon, fish, lamb, and cheese. And plant-based proteins comes from your legumes, your nuts, your seeds, grains, tofu, nut butters, quinoa, and Greek yogurt. So those are some of the common examples. And even the vegetables also have some amount of proteins also. They're all plant-based proteins. Now, I won't get into the whole discussion of which proteins are better for you. In our weight loss clinic, we personalize the diet based on each person's preferences. So we go with I customize the diet depending on how they want to eat their food, and there's pros and cons with both of those. So when it comes to animal protein, the benefits would be there's more B complex vitamins in there, and there may be there are also more essential amino acids, and it's also metabolized better. It's more the protein in animals is more bioavailable. That means our body is used to processing that a lot better, and you can get away with eating a small portions with getting enough protein for the day. When it comes to plant-based proteins, you will have more phytochemicals in there, like you may have additional vitamins and minerals in there, like and also things like lycopene for tomatoes and isoflavones, and also more of the vitamin K if you eat like more spinach, and it's more it has more phytochemicals and more fiber in the plant-based proteins, but they may not be a complete protein, and I will tell you what it means in the next slide. They may be lacking certain essential amino acids that our body needs. Also, our body cannot process the bioavailability of the protein. Processing is a bit less with plant-based protein. That means you may not be absorbing all of the protein that you get in there. And especially if you're a vegan, you got to be careful of lysine deficiency. So when the protein breaks down, it becomes an amino acid, and that is the part that our body uses to do all of those physiological processes. So one of the amino acids, there are 9 essential amino acids that our body needs, and one of them is lysine. So if that means our body is not able to create that amino acid in itself. So you do need to have an intake of it so that you do not have certain deficiencies. So for vegans, they are more prone to have one of these essential amino acid deficiency if they're only eating plant proteins. So this is what I mean, the types of protein. This is like complete protein, and there is our incomplete protein. Complete protein is our animal protein, where you can see where it has all of the amino acids in there, essential and non-essential. So once you eat that, everything is available to you, and you're not lacking any of your body is able to have produce the essential amino is able to metabolize the essential amino acids also pretty well. So you do not need any additional supplements or so. If it's a plant-based protein, it can be an incomplete protein, so it may be lacking in certain essential amino acids, which are 9 of those. And if you Google them, you'll find the names. I don't want to go over all the names of those, but those are like histine, leucine, isoleucine, valine, etc. So why do we need to eat? Why do we need to monitor the protein intake, especially when you're trying to lose weight, right? So it's important to know that, because protein, especially if you're eating adequate protein, you're going to be more satisfied. It definitely helps to cut down your hunger. So that itself helps you to lose weight more. And after every meal, you don't have to snack, because you're able to stay satisfied and full for a long time. So that itself helps you to lose more weight. And on top of it, it also, if you're doing more resistance training and strength training exercise while you're trying to lose weight, it also helps you to gain muscle. And we all know that muscle helps you to burn more calories. So when you have gained enough muscle, you are going to burn, say, for example, 100 calories more, even at rest, while you are trying to lose weight. And they say that you can even burn calories when you're sleeping if you have more muscle, if you have more muscle ratio in your body and have gained muscle. So that's why it's important to not lose any muscle and gain muscle, so you can keep your basal metabolic rate. So you're not losing any calorie, so you're not having to eat less calories, and that you can eat more calories and still lose weight. So it's important to gain the muscle while doing strength training and while maintaining adequate protein intake. That's what I mean. So if you also eat more protein, it also helps you to increase your resting energy expenditure. And these are all like a combination of it is really good and helps you to lose weight. Also, they've done a study which shows that it also helps you to not gain weight. And I think one of the problems we face is you have lost weight, but then there's a more chances of weight regain after you're done your diet. So if you're eating enough protein, one study showed that eating enough protein helped to avoid 50% of weight regain. So it's important to really remember that, and so that you don't regain the weight back after you're done with your weight loss efforts. And if you don't eat enough protein and you go on a strict like a low calorie diet, or you just do a diet even if you're doing low carb, but if you're not eating enough protein, you can have what's called a sarcopenia, which is like a loss of muscle mass in the body. And as we age, especially as we turn after 40s, we start losing muscle. If you don't use your muscle, you lose the muscle. So that's and as time goes on, that can build up and can reduce your can reduce your also energy expenditure, and also it can also reduce your muscle mass overall. And that's how people have a tendency to have more falls and fractures as we age. So it's really important not to develop sarcopenia, or if you have sarcopenia, you really need to up your protein intake while you're trying to lose weight. And also it can help you to, we talked about the weight regain, right? So if you don't eat enough protein after you lost weight, then you can have a tendency to have a weight regain too. And when you lose weight, guys, the number of pounds of weight loss, there will inevitably, some of it will be a protein loss of protein. When you lose weight, you're not only losing the fat pounds, but you'll also have some muscle pounds weight loss. And to reduce the amount of muscle pound weight loss compared to fat, you really have to eat enough protein. Otherwise, you're going to lose more muscle than fat. And it really saddens me whenever I see somebody in the clinic who's been doing really good with the diet, when I have to tell them that you've lost a pound or 2 pounds of muscle. That's why we really monitor it very closely. For every 10 pounds of weight loss, we repeat their body composition testing, which tells us about how much muscle they have and what's their body fat percentage and what's their metabolic rate. So we can monitor all these three things, and it's really important to do that while you're losing weight. So we are being monitored, and we keep adjusting their diet as they keep losing weight, so they're not having to lose muscle. And imagine somebody loses 50 pounds of weight and they're happy because they've done that, but what if like 30 pounds of it is from muscle, and that's a muscle that's not going to come back. It takes many months to develop in 1 pound of muscle. So and then their metabolic rate goes down. So then when they regain their weight back, the muscle doesn't come back unless you're exercising quite a bit, doing more strength training. So what they regain is more fat regain. And this is a problem when you do yo-yo dieting. So whenever you're regaining weight, you're probably regaining more fat than muscle if you don't keep up with the protein intake and if you don't do strength training exercises. And we talked about the malnutrition part that can happen, some things like marasmus or kwashiorkor that come with not eating enough protein, especially with kids when they're growing up. And we talked about the neurotransmitters. There is like some of the amino acids like tryptophan and tyrosine are responsible for neurotransmitters in the brain, and which is related to the mood issues. So so some of the mood disorders could be when people are not eating enough protein and they're not able to create those neurotransmitters and those things. So keep those in mind. So guys, if you like this content, go ahead and like our page, and I hope you can even subscribe, so we are able to kind of give more information every week for all of you. And those of you who are just joining me, we are talking about one of the essential macronutrients in the diet, about protein and what types of protein you need to eat, and why you need to eat more protein, especially when you're trying to lose weight, and what happens if you don't eat enough protein. So here we go. So there are certain times things that also can happen if you eat more protein. By that I mean, like if you're eating more than 2 grams per kilogram lean body weight, that is really excess protein, and sometimes we don't need that, because more protein also can create more sulfate load in the body, and that can increase your acid levels in the blood, and that itself can leach calcium from the bone to kind of buffer up the increased acid load. So eating high protein diet, excess protein, by that more than 2 grams per kilogram, especially if you're not an endurance athlete, or so, you really don't need that much protein, and which can cause high acid load. And also when you are getting more of the protein from animal protein, which can cause high phosphorus levels in the body, and that also can increase your parathyroid hormones, which are like 4 glands in the neck area. That level can go up, and that also can be a risk for kidney stones. So you have to monitor for that. And if you're trying to do a ketogenic diet, you can have protein. When excess protein can also behave just like glucose. It can break down, it can be used for energy expenditure, it can break down, it can act like glucose, and it also can raise your insulin levels. So you won't be in ketosis. You eat very high protein. So one of the things I see, especially I think for women, I get sometimes patients who are doing ketogenic diet, but they're not having success with weight loss. And one of the things, when we look through their diet, and I have adjusted their protein intake, and then they start losing weight. And then especially I think I see that most commonly in women. So you got to keep that in mind, especially if you're hitting a weight plateau or so. And then the bone loss. So we talked about how it can leach the calcium from the bones. The data of it, it's theoretically possible, but the data is not consistent with it. But just keep that in mind, that it can be responsible for bone loss. So we do have to eat adequate protein, but not much. And especially if you are a patient with a kidney problem or liver disease, it can cause a burden on those organs. And especially with kidney disease patients, your excess protein can raise your BUN levels, and your kidney will struggle with filtering of that protein. And if you're a liver disease patient, it also can raise your nitrogen levels, and especially people with liver failure and stuff like that, it can cause some mental status changes and those things. So if you have any of those organ issues, you really have to be monitoring and really eat the adequate amounts of protein. So this is my final point to you guys, right, guys? Eat enough protein, but not too much. But eat enough protein, and eat healthy protein, and not too much protein, so that you are not having any issues that we talked about in the last slide. So especially if you're trying to lose weight, keep these factors in mind, and I think we all would benefit from eating a little bit as animal protein. If you're not a vegetarian, go ahead and eat your animal protein, but do also add a little bit more plant proteins also, to change things up, and also to get all the benefits of the plant-based proteins in your diet. I hope this is helpful for you, and if you like and subscribe to our page, and share it with your friends, so that they also can gain the knowledge. And if you want to see me to get started on your own weight loss or wellness journey, go ahead and schedule your visit on our website at www.excelhealthmd.com. Thank you. Take care. As we say in my clinic, don't wait till sickness, start your wellness today.